Hey guys, my name's Doug with Infotainment.com. Today we're working on the 2013 to 2018 Ram 1500 truck that also includes all of the heavy duties. Furthermore, this also works in 2019 through 2022 Ram 1500 Classic trucks. Today I'm going to show you guys how to install a factory CD player in your truck. Some of you love CDs, still have a lot of CDs, and you would love to have it work on your factory installed infotainment system. So we will show you today how to do it in the truck located behind me. Very easy to install. You're going to have plug and play wiring behind your radio. You're going to run your loom to the CD player itself. The CD player you can mount anywhere you want. We're going to put it underneath the driver's seat and secure it under there. Lastly, you need to program the vehicle's body control module to accept the CD player so you can control it from your infotainment system. So to do that, those of you who have a 2018 or higher model, you will need to temporarily install a security gateway module bypass behind your radio. If you don't have a 2018, you don't need to worry about that, 2018 or higher, but you all will need to program your vehicle to accept the CD player through your OBD2 port. So we partnered with OBDgenie.com. Simply plug this into your OBD2 port, let the magic happen. You'll get a green LED light. You can disconnect it and you'll be ready to go. Now let's go ahead and put this in the Ram 1500 behind us.
All right, so we're gonna be doing 3 different upgrades on this truck, all at one time, because they all kind of tie in a little bit to each other, and they're all very small, so we figured we'd put it all together in one video. But where I'm gonna be accessing is behind the radio to add in a remote CD player. And a lot of people may want a remote CD player if you still have a lot of CDs like I do. This will be invaluable to you. So basically we can install this anywhere in the vehicle. I'm gonna do it underneath the driver seat, aiming out to the side. You can put it anywhere you want as long as the wire reaches where you're gonna install it. But yeah, getting into that a little bit, because we're mounting it on the carpet itself, I'm actually not gonna be using any of these brackets. But I'll show you when I get down there to that point of the install. So to install that wiring harness, I have to pull the radio. Adding in with that install, we're gonna be doing automatic temperature control. So if you wanna set your temperature and basically forget it at that point, this is the upgrade that you're gonna wanna pay attention to. This installs behind your driver's side knee bolster, right below the key cylinder. And you also get a replacement sun sensor that'll go up on the top in the center of the dash there. And basically we just have to run this line over to the passenger side glove box and plug it in and program it with our Genie. So getting into everything, I'm just gonna start disassembling everything here so I can start running my wires. Where I'm starting is right up top here on the center of the radio. You have a little rubber cover that pops out, and that'll expose 2 7mm screws. And once you pull those out, this whole center stack, this whole bezel here, actually just pull right off of there. I'm gonna rest it right here. You actually don't even need to remove it all the way. We just need to access our radio. 4 7mm screws holding our radio in. Pulling our radio out a little bit will give us access to our integration harness. Basically our pass-through harness here. We have a few open connections here. The one that we're going to be using today is the remote CD player Molex plug here. This is the wire that's going to connect to our CD player that we're adding on, the CD player harness. So I'll go ahead and plug this in, and it'll only go in one way. There's actually, the connector is keyed so you can't get it wrong. Snap that into place. And the other end, I'm actually going to route down to underneath the driver's side knee bolster. So I'm just going to fish this down. Behind the dash bracket here. And around underneath that AC vent, that's usually where I like to run them on here. Oop. And that'll kind of give you a straight shot straight down to your footwell area on the driver's side. All right, so we're going to continue to run this down to the footwell area, and then we'll pull this panel off so we can have a little bit more access to running our wire. All right, and you can see my wire drop down. Now just continue pulling it through to get the rest of it on this side. All right, so now that I got the bulk of the wires down here at the footwell, what I'm gonna do is pop this panel off, which there's two 7mm screws going straight up. I'm gonna take those out. And basically just pull this panel back. And that'll pop it free here. And we don't have to disconnect any of those wires, the hood release or anything. We're just trying to get access so we can zip tie this harness along our wires that's already here. And I'm gonna make my way over to the driver's side kick panel. All right, now before I move forward, continuing to run the wire down underneath the driver's seat, since I have our knee bolster removed, I'm actually gonna add our cabin sensor in for the automatic temperature control, which goes in right below the key cylinder here on the back side of this panel. You can see this opening here with the two screw hole locations. That's where our sensor goes, and the sensor actually is also keyed. There's a groove in it. It'll only go in one way. You'll just want to slide your sensor in, and included with your kit are two pretty small Phillips screws. We'll use those to mount our sensor in the knee bolster. And with our radial bezel removed, we can actually run this wire over to the passenger side, which this is the direction that it needs to go, right next to the HVAC module behind the glove box. Kind of run this through here. Right like that, and I'm gonna reinstall this panel, and then I'll pull the excess slack out of the wire. We can just take our panel and snap that back into place, and I'll reinstall the two 7mm screws. All right, and we can let that wire hang out in there until we finish up our CD player install. And in order to run our wire down to where we need it to go, we have to pull up our kick panel. that pulls up and towards the rear. Pop that out, set that aside, and we can continue to work our wires down. And I like to throw zip ties in as many places as possible to make sure that wire doesn't shift on us and possibly interrupt the emergency brake from working. All right, so I got my wire down to the driver's seat area. Like I said, this is where I'm going to be mounting our CD player underneath the driver's seat. And because of that, I'm actually not going to use any of these brackets. So I'm going to pull these brackets off, just a Phillips screw. And I'm going to plug our CD player in. But first, I got to route the wires to this little opening underneath the seat here. That'll go right in there, and I'll pull the slack from this wire. CD player can be mounted anywhere, so we gave you a nice length of wire to accommodate any location that you may choose. But because I have all this extra slack, I'm just gonna kind of coil it up and throw a zip tie on the excess under here. We'll pull these brackets off. All right, now I'll plug our CD player in. So one plug. And now to actually mount the CD player down, an old trick that we used to do back in the day is if you're mounting something to bare carpet, we just used to get Velcro. So I just picked up some Velcro from my local hardware store. And I'll use the Velcro to mount the CD player down. Now I'm only going to use one side of the Velcro. Let me rip this open here. So I'm going to use the non-fuzzy side of the Velcro to stick that to the carpet. All right, so I'll just apply the Velcro to the bottom of the CD player. And then I'll set it down, and right around there is where I want it. Yep, nice and stuck. All right, so we got our CD player mounted. I'll go ahead and reassemble our kick panel and work my way back over to the radio. All right, so back underneath the radio, I pulled up all the slack from the climate control sensor, and I'm just gonna work this over towards the passenger side. And the same way I ran it from the driver's side knee bolster, I'm actually gonna run it right back here and work my way behind the glove box. Now, I have to drop the glove box to access that wire. And basically, to remove the glove box on the passenger side of the glove box, you have a cable. And if you take some of the slack off of the glove box whoops, it's actually a spring assisted cable. So if you take some of the slack off, you can pop it out of the little hole that's in the glove box here. Once you have that cable up and off, you can squeeze the sides of the glove box to drop it, and it'll pop right out of there. It's like kind of on a C-channel hinge that once you rotate it enough, it'll slide right out. We can set that aside, and now we should have access. Yep, there's our wire to pull the rest of our wire through. All right, so we have our wire pulled all the way over to the passenger side of our glove box, and the connector that we're concerned with is a 6-pin white Molex plug. This connector is actually attached to the wiring harness that we previously installed for our HVAC module. We're just going to take our plug here and plug it in to our Molex connector. This is also keyed, it only goes in one way. Once we get that clipped into place, I'm going to go ahead and zip tie this line up to our factory harness that's up here, so it's up and out of the way. All right, now that that wire is connected, I can reinstall our glove box, and I'll move over to the last step of this install. All right, so the easiest way I found to put the glove box in is line up the hinge at the bottom side with the little grooves on your dash, and then grab the little spring tensioned wire back there and kind of hold that with one hand. And as I fold the glove box up, I depress the sides to get that to go all the way up, and then I can snap back in that little side cable with the clip on it, and all that does is allow your glove box to drop slowly instead of just free falling on its own weight. All right, for the last step of this install for the climate control, we need to install a new sun sensor. And that sensor is right up top at the center of your dash right here. It's pretty easy to do. This whole panel actually pops free. There's some retaining clips under there. We've got a panel tool or one of the plastic dash tools that'll work real good here. Just got to pop that up and pull back towards you to free all the connectors or all the clips, and then you have one connector right on the bottom side of that sun sensor that you'll have to depress, so you can pull that whole panel off. That's just a little clip right in the center. Okay. All right, so with our panel in hand, we have our new sensor here. The old one simply pops out. You just push it up through there and you slide in your new one. Now, if you get these confused, the new one actually has 4 pins. The old one only has 2. So if you get these confused, you drop them or something, the one that you're going to be putting back in has 4 pins on there. And you just want to line up the groove on the sensor with the groove that's in the panel. Now we can reinstall the whole thing, plugging the sensor in. It's a little tight in here, but make sure you hear that, or at least feel that click. And then just line up the retaining clips and push it down into place. All right, now all we got to do is put everything back together, and then we can run our genies to program the vehicle. All right, now we have 2 genies to run to program our automatic climate control and our new CD player. So I'll turn the ignition to the run position, run both of our genies. All right, we got a green light. Means we're clear to pull that genie out. And now we'll run our second genie. All right, we got another green light. Means we're good to go. Now we'll turn the vehicle off and let it sleep for a few minutes. And while we do that, I'm gonna swap out the floor mats. We got some all-weather Ram floor mats that we're gonna be upgrading our vehicle with, so we'll throw those in now. And the only difference with the rears is they get snapped together in the center. So you got to drop the passenger side in first, and then the driver's side will go right over it. Then you can just clip them two together right in the center. All right, now that we got all of our upgrades completed, we got our genies programmed, and we let the vehicle sit for a few minutes. We're gonna turn the ignition back on and check out our new upgrades. All right away you can see we have our CD player, which is now here. This wasn't an option before. Let's go into climate control. And right up top here, you can see we have auto climate control as a feature now. So now, depending on what temperature you set your climate to, you can hit auto and keep it at that sustained temperature. So if you set it to 72, 69, what have you, it'll stay at that temperature automatically, whether it's hot or cold outside. All right, that wraps up this install. If you are interested in a climate control upgrade or a CD player upgrade for your vehicle, check us out at Infotainment.com. And if you liked this video and you want to see more, make sure to come back.